Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. My name is Drew Creekmer. I'm the Director of Advisory Services here at Creekmer Wealth. And in today's 5 Minute Finances, I want to talk a little bit about just some general takeaways for us all to really be working on our financial literacy. Now, right now, we're in Financial Literacy Month, and it's always important to be continuing to learn and to grow as we walk through the rest of our lives. We always want to be curious. And by being curious and by having a desire to acquire knowledge, we can really impact not just ourselves personally, but our family and our community through the resources that we're able to accrue, both knowledge wise, but then practically, financially, how that plays out as we acquire more knowledge. And so, a lot of times, I hear from folks and I read articles out there that talk about how the vast majority of Americans feel unprepared for retirement, that they don't have enough money, or that they just don't know and feel like they should know, but they just don't. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. A lot of reasons have to do with just creating big headlines, right? And just writing scary toned articles that really are not designed to acquire knowledge for the reader, but to actually concern the reader. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of people feel unprepared. And so, what I just wanted to talk through is just some simple frameworks and some key elements and key rules of thumb for you all to be thinking about as it comes to your financial life. So, number one, we've all heard people say, hey, you need to have at least $1 million to retire. And actually, I just saw today a number that said the actual ideal portfolio size to go into retirement is $1.4 million. Now, here's the thing with that. Now, that may be true on average across the United States, but it's not true for every single person. I've worked with clients all over the country who do not have $1 million saved for retirement. In fact, they have far less than that sometimes. But that's okay because based on their lifestyle and on their desire and their expenses, maybe their social security or pension, they don't need $1 million to actually live in retirement. And so if you feel like you're behind in how much you're saving and you keep seeing articles that say, hey, you need to have $1.4 million, don't allow yourself to get down about it. Actually take a step back and zoom out and look at your own personal financial life and say, well, hey, how much am I actually living on today? How much money do I need coming in to cover my expenses? Write down all your fixed expenses, your mortgage, your car payment, how much you're spending on groceries and utilities. Write all those things down and then add them up. And then say, well, hey, what are the things that I would like to do that I don't have to do? And these are variable expenses. They could be going on a trip, right? Or going out to the movies with your family. Write those down as well. And then actually take a look at what is your average spending every single month. And what I so often see is that people's average spending is really sufficient to live on a portfolio of less than $1 million and then Social Security and maybe a pension. But it's not something that you hear in the news because you know why? It's not going to get clicks to say that. But that's the reality. So, number one, don't get down. Take a step back, look big picture, and actually see how much you need to spend. That's the most important thing when it comes to planning for retirement. It's a thing I see that people so often either under or overestimate is how much they will actually spend. And that's where you need to start. Every income plan in retirement starts and ends with spending. Now, number two is how much should I actually be able to spend out of my portfolio? And there's a rule of thumb out there, and that's that you can spend 4% of your investment portfolio every year and you'll never touch your principal. It's considered the 4% safe withdrawal rule. Now, what is so interesting about that rule is that the individual who actually created that a number of years ago recently came out with a new study saying, well, hey, number one, I never intended for this to become the gold standard. And everyone to just say, hey, I'm going to take 4% out of my portfolio and I'm good to go. I was really just using that as a starting point for the conversation. And he actually updated his analysis and he found that that safe withdrawal rate is now actually higher than 4%. And that's why it's important to recognize that rules of thumb aren't the end all be all. They're just a starting point for you to consider. I have clients that spend less than 1% of their portfolio in retirement because they don't need to spend more. And I have some people that spend more than 4%, actually more than 5% of their portfolio, but that's part of their income plan that we've helped build for them. And so it makes sense and it's unique to them. And so don't just accept a rule of thumb. Remember what I said earlier. Number one, you need to start with how much do you actually need to spend in retirement. And then number two, you're able to determine, well, hey, what is my withdrawal rate that I need to plug the gap between my fixed income and my expense needs? And then you're able to back into how much you need to take out of your portfolio. And once you know that, well, then the next step, which is that a 60-40 portfolio is the ideal asset allocation in retirement, well, actually, then you could back into, well, how do I need to invest in order to generate that withdrawal rate that I need. And again, a 60-40 portfolio, that's a rule of thumb. That's based on past performance. But what so many people don't understand is that coming out in the late 1970s, early 1980s, interest rates were at an all-time high. And by consistently dropping interest rates over the next 30 years, we actually lived through one of the longest and best bull markets for US bonds in the history of our country. But since 2020, we've actually seen that reverse. Interest rates went from basically zero up substantially in that 5 year time period. And we actually just lived through the worst 5 year period for US bond performance in the history of the United States. And so if you had bonds in your portfolio, they're no longer acting like bonds over the last 30 plus years. They're actually now acting like they're not actually generating any return. And sometimes they're actually negative depending on the time period we're looking at. And inflation's higher. And so we have 40% of our portfolio earning nothing at all. Well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But if we just follow rules of thumb blindly, well, we're going to end up basically making no money on 40%. But at the same time, you don't want to take that 40% and dump it into the stock market because that's absolutely not what we should be doing. So how do you go from there? And so as you can probably imagine, this framework I'm walking through, anyone can go out and do this and think through this yourself. But what I would encourage you to do is to reach out to a trusted advisor. And if you don't have one, reach out to me and my team. We're more than happy to sit down, just have a conversation, help you walk through and think through those three elements that I just laid out. And what we have so often found is that every person is unique and they need a customized, unique to them game plan. And so oftentimes they don't get that. That everyone gets put into the same box at a lot of firms around the country. And what I would encourage you is work with an independent advisor who can be that trusted fiduciary in your financial life. And we'd love to help you do that and walk through those questions and make wise and informed decisions that are unique to you and your family. So thanks for the time. Hope you found something useful here. We'll talk to you all soon.